Peace to you, my brothers and sisters. All praises to our Heavenly Father for another day. I thank the Most High for protecting us, protecting you and your family, protecting me and my family, even though our families do not keep the law. I don't know about you, but my family do not keep the law. I am the only one in my family that keeps the law. I don't know what it would have been like if I have children. I don't even know if they will be keeping the law. I don't know. I just don't know because it's something that I've never experienced before. But I'm just wondering what could have been if I have children. Would they be keeping the law? Because I do know that some of you, my brothers and my sisters, some of you are in pain. You are in pain because your children do not keep the law. Your grandchildren do not keep the law. And it's something that pains you a lot. It pains you a lot. And I will show you the reason why your children and your grandchildren do not keep the law. When you talk to them right now, I would show you. Let me, because I don't know that I'm going to be doing this topic right now, but I'm always grateful to the Most High for, and I prefer to do it this way so that the Spirit will lead me. Most of the stuff I do not prepare. I don't prepare for sermon. I don't prepare for stuff. I just let the Spirit lead me. So in that way, what comes out of my mouth will be very authentic and biblical. Usually the Most High have blessed me that when I say something, there's usually a scripture that supports that will come after I say that thing. That's how I normally do. So I came here for the law of the day, and from thanking the Most High, I mentioned the fact that our family members do not keep the law. It's a very painful thing. In my case, I don't have children, so in my case, that will be my siblings and my cousins, my nephews. None keep the law. None. In fact, in my family, in my entire family, in my whole family, nobody keeps the law. Nobody. But they are all Christians. They won't even let you finish before they tell you that they're Christians. They will tell you that they are Christians. They will be the first to confess how Christian they are. But they might even be chewing shrimp in their mouth. Some of them it's so sad what has happened to us as a people. It's so sad. But I'm grateful and thankful to the Most High for the awakening that is happening. We cannot give up. We cannot give up. We cannot, in terms of when our family members, we're not going to give up and we're not going to abandon them. We will continue to talk, but we will have to talk wisely. Okay? We cannot bombard them with information. Like I've always said, do not be sending them stuff every day. Don't do it. Okay? I know you are eager. You're passionate. I know you're so desperate to save your children and your grandchildren and your loved ones, but you have to do it wisely. You cannot do something that will become counterproductive. If you overwhelm them with biblical information, that will turn them off. So you cannot be sending them stuff every day. You can only send them stuff once in a while. Okay, so let's get to some scriptures before we continue. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 6. I just want to show you why our loved ones do not keep the law. So in that way, because I do know that some of us do have access to children. What do I mean? There are some of you that have access to your grandchildren. Some of you have access to your great-grandchildren. And that is actually a very good thing. And if you ever have the opportunity for your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren or your brother or your sister, if you ever have the opportunity for any little child to stay with you, please do not say no. But of course, I know it depends on your circumstances, but if you can do it, take them on. Because once you take them on, then you begin to do what the Most High said here. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 6, from verse 6 to 9. Deuteronomy chapter 6. This is what should have happened to us as little kids. What I'm about to read is what was supposed to have happened to us. But guess what? The enemy and his people cornered us through colonialism. They brought Christianity, and they used Christianity to corner us. They blocked us, cornered us, and began to teach us Christianity instead of teaching us what I'm about to read right now. Let me highlight it. I'm going to go down all the way to 11. Am I in Deuteronomy? Okay. 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 I'm going to go from 6 to 9. I'm just going to highlight this. So it says, and these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sitteth in your house, and when you walketh by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and you shall bind them for a sign in your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the doorpost of your house. So, when we were growing up, you know how we do morning devotion as Christians? Every morning we're supposed to read the law. Every night before we go to bed, we're supposed to read the law. There is laws and commandments written on our door. We have to talk about it all the time. When you do this to children, they will never forget the law. They will never. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to have one or two of your children that will backslide. But let me tell you something about those that will backslide. Even if they backslide and fall into the world and have bad friends and smoke and drink, eventually they will come back, because that is what they're raised with. If you're familiar with Muslims, a lot of Muslims actually are not religious. A lot of them are not religious, but they still wear their veil. They wear their veil for the women. They still have those things. They still do, even the men, because for them, it is something they learn from their childhood. It's something that have gotten into their head and gotten into their blood. So, all this stuff was supposed to be taught to us as little children, as you see here in Deuteronomy chapter 6 from verse 6. If we go to chapter 11, we see the same thing. Deuteronomy chapter 11. And I really pray that you will at least keep this in mind, just in case if you do have access to children. Deuteronomy chapter 6, because you can still do it. You can still do it. Yes, it's true that you were not able to do it to your children directly. That's why I'm saying that if you do have access to younger ones now, like your grandchildren and stuff, you can still do this. And it will work. It will work. Because children are like there's a proverb in my language that say that children are like there's this thing that come out of a yam. If you're familiar with yam, yam, if you're a farmer or if you have ever farmed yam before, there's this thing that come out of a yam. When you put the yam on the ground, that flour from the yam will come out. And usually when it comes out from the yam, when you put a yam on the ground, when you farm a yam, that flour that comes out from the yam, they don't have any direction. They come out of that place. You have to put a stick to support it and make it the way it should go. So whichever way you set that flour from the yam, that's the way it will go. 100% the way it will go. Because it doesn't have any direction. So you have to direct it. So little children are like that. Any child that is less than 15 years, they have no direction. But what happens is that once you start sending them to school, people talk about religion. You may not know this, but education, Western education is actually far worse than Christianity. Western education is far worse because they capture our children at a very young age. They capture our children at a very young age. And one of the things I'm doing right now, I'm already working on it. It's just a matter of time before I get it open, is to start to open school. I've already helped some people open school somewhere in Africa, and I'm trying to open my own because we have to get these children from a very young age. If you don't teach them the law of the Most High from a very young age, you're wasting your time. You are wasting your time. So about 3 years ago, there was, in one day, 2 different people offered me their children to train their sons. 2 boys in one day. The other one was about 14 years. The other one was about maybe 13. About 13 years. In one day, I was going somewhere to go and do some teaching. And the woman was begging me, please, can you take my son? Can you raise him for me? Can you please take my son and raise him for me? I was like, I'm so sorry. I would love to take your son and raise your son for you, but I can't do that right now because, I have to travel again. I'm traveling. That's when I was doing, when I was going back and forth from the US. So, and now that boy is gone. That boy right now is at least about 17 years now or something like that. He's gone. He is gone. He's gone. Like literally gone, But I'm sure if I had taken that boy at that time, right now, that boy would have been a diehard lawkeeper, because he was still young at that time. And then on the same day, when I got to the place I went to teach, another woman approached me. She was begging me, please, can you take my son? Can you please, the same day, can you please take my son and raise my son for me? I was like, I'm so sorry, I can't take your son. Why are they doing this? Do you think that they will just come out on the street and see any stranger and tell the stranger to take their son? They're doing this because they have seen. First of all, they're desperate. Their husbands, the father of those children don't know how to raise their parents of these, they don't know how to raise their children. They don't, because our enemies have convinced us. Our enemies have convinced us that raising a child means paying school fees. Our enemies have convinced us that raising a child means paying school fees. So whoever is paying the school fees of a child, we now consider that person is the one who is raising that child. You have to hate Western education, my brother, my sister. Psalm 139. Psalm 139. I hate them that hate thee. David told the Most High that he, David, hates anybody that hates the Most High. Some of us are keeping these laws. We are keeping it, but our mindset have not changed. We still retain that Western Gentile mindset that we grew up with. Your mindset has to change. That means that whatever the Most High hates, you must hate, whether you like it or not. What got Saul in trouble? The first king of Israel. The Most High said, go and kill everybody in that place. Saul decided to save the king of that place. What got Achan in trouble? The Most High said, go over there, don't take anything with you. Destroy everything. Achan stole a Babylonian garment and some money. We must begin to hate what the Most High hates. Some of us, some of you, some of us are keeping these laws. But things are still not yet right. Because we might be keeping the law, but our mind has not been changed. You must at some point come to a point where you will have genuine hatred to anything that the Most High hates. So, the Most High definitely hates Western education. Why? Because the Most High said that He's a jealous God. Jealous God. Let me show you why the Most High hates Western education. I'm going to read this one and then I'll go to another one. Deuteronomy chapter 11. Therefore, shall ye lay up these words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and ye shall teach them to your children, speaking of them when thou liest down, when you lie down in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you seated in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. You have to talk about the law all the time. Now, let's go to Deuteronomy 31. I want to show you something. Why the Most High hates Western education. I have been preaching against Western education for years. That was why I started the online school. I started the online school to help those who would like to pull their children out of that demonic whorehouse synagogue of Satan that they brought to us. Let me show you. Let's go down. Let's start from verse 10. This is Deuteronomy chapter 31. And Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of release, in the feast of tabernacle, when all Israel come to appear before Yah, they in their place which he shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. You shall read this law before all Israel in their hearing. So when the Israelites are gathered together, you have to read the law in the hearing of everybody. Now look at verse 12. Gather the people together, men and women and children, and your stranger that is within your gates, and that they may hear, and that they may learn, and fear Yah your Elohim, and observe to do all the words of this law. Now look at verse 13. And that their children, which have not known anything, may hear, and learn to fear Yah your Elohim, as long as ye live in the land where you go over Jordan to possess. Your children that have not known anything. Did you see that? And their children which have not known anything. Let me put a special highlight to that part. Their children that have not known anything may hear. Just watch that. look at the green area, and that their children that have not known anything, oh my goodness, the kind of hatred I have in my heart for Western education is worse than Boko Haram. Boko Haram in the east, in somewhere in West Africa, they hate Western education. I hate Western education more than Boko Haram. I despise Western education. Why? Because the Europeans have come into Africa. They did the same thing worldwide. Worldwide. They came into Africa. They convinced us. They opened schools. They opened schools through their church system. The church controls schools in West Africa. Primary school, secondary school is controlled by churches. Mainly primary school. Primary school mainly is controlled by churches. They do also have secondary schools. So what they have done is that they came, as you can see clearly here, that the Most High said that his law should be taught to children that have not known anything. So children that don't know anything, you begin to teach them the law. So the law of the Most High is what they will begin to now know. The law of the Most High is the primary thing that they begin to know. The Europeans came into our land. They brought their school system, and we begin to send nursery school. We begin to send our children to them. Our children that doesn't know anything. They're teaching them math, English, science, all these things. When we ourselves could have taught them these things, we can teach them these things ourselves. We can teach them how to write. We can teach them how to read. But the primary teaching that we have to give to them is supposed to be the law of the Most High. The law of the Most High. I have pain in my heart. It pains me. I'm sorrowful when I see children, like when I see what is happening, because a lot of us are talking against Christianity. You don't even realize that the education system is far worse, because they capture these children from a very young age. They capture them. And like as I've always said, once a child passes the age of 15, you've lost that child. If that child in the future comes back to keeping the law of the Most High, that will be a miracle. And that miracle does not happen often. It doesn't happen often. It's almost guaranteed. In fact, I will go on to say that it's guaranteed. If you teach a child the law from a very young age, before they know anything, they will continue to keep that law. At some point in their life, they might backslide because they want to go into the world and test the world and test smoking and test these things, which is very rare. If you teach 100 children the law of the Most High, at least at the end of the day, 60 or 70 will continue. 30 will fall off. We have to do something about this. Never be in support of sending your children to school. Educate them yourself. The scripture is very clear that our Moshe was taught how to read and write by his father. Enoch was taught how to read and write by his father. Our ancestors, if you read the commandment book, that commandment book, I wrote out these things. You see, our ancestors was taught how to read and write by their fathers. The fathers are the ones that teaches it. So I have something that I'm working on right now, which is the same thing you see in the ancient times. If you notice, when Hannah had a child, Hannah gave her son to Eli, who was the high priest, and the Eli educated Samuel. Samuel grew up to become a prophet. This is the system we're supposed to have. So that's the system that I'm working on right now as I speak to you. I'm still going to open a public school system to allow the villagers and the town people to bring their children, and it's going to be a free education. It will be free education. Absolute free education. I'm not going to charge them any money. I'm already working on something like that already. Already working on something like that. Let me see if I can show you something here. I don't know. I've never tried to show something like this, but let me try. See if I can show you. Just to give you an idea for those of you that are watching this, just to give you this is a picture I took on similar project that I've been working on. See, these kids right here. They are the kids that we've been see their school uniform. This is their school uniform right here. See, there's their school uniform. So these are kids that are in that school already right now. So we make them wear fringes from childhood. This is a school that I'm helping a particular congregation to start this thing. To start this, pretty much most of the uniform you see here, I bought them and took it to them, you know, because I wanted to make sure that you know, because it's one thing to say something, you know, it all sounds very good when you say stuff, you know, it all sounds very good. You say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, but it's another thing to actually get to do it. So these children, which I'm going to share more information about this in the future. I'm going to share more information. The boys are here too. The boys are in the back. The boys are in the back with their own school thing, you know. But anyway, I will probably try to blur out their faces, because some parents may not want their faces children to be shown. You know how our people think. You know how we reason. They may not want their face to be shown, which I totally understand. I totally understand that. So I'm going to try and blow out their faces and then show the full picture later on. So this uniform you see here is from the scripture. This is from the scripture. And if you look at their shoulder, you see that their veil has lion. That is supposed to mean the Lion of Judah. You know, so these are things that we should be doing. These kids you see in this picture, most of them don't know anything. They don't know anything. They don't know anything at all. And that's the way it should be, you know. So this is a public school system. The one that I just showed you is a public school system. Okay. And another one that I'm working on is the same system you see with Eli, where I'm going to be living with these children. They will live in with me. I will be living with them pretty much in the same building, and so that we can raise them the right way. You cannot be blaming your child, blaming your son, blaming your grandchildren for not keeping the law when they were never taught the law from childhood. They were not taught the law from childhood. So you can't really blame them that much, because you can't expect them to give you something that they were never given. You can't expect them to do that. And the reason why that you did not give them that knowledge is because you did not know. You did not know. Because if you had known, you would have taught them. That's why the Messiah said that my people perish for lack of knowledge. We did not know who we were. We did not know that we have to keep the law. If we had known, we would have done it the right way. So now that we know, we have to begin to do something. And one of the problem I have, I don't know if it's pride, and I want to be honest with myself. It could be pride. It could be, I don't know what that thing is, but I don't mind saying it's because being on the ground over here, being on the ground and seeing how ignorant our people are. Most people in West Africa don't know the Most High. I mean, like biblically, like, you know, like I'm not talking about my opinion. I'm talking about 1 John chapter 2 from verse 3. And by this we know that we know him, if we keep the commandment. He that claims to know him but does not keep the commandment is a liar. So most people over here don't know the Most High. They don't know the Most High based on 1 John chapter 2 from verse 3 standard. They just don't know the Most High because they were not taught from childhood on how to know the Most High. So now, because I've never seen anybody with fringes on the street. I've never seen anybody. In America, I do meet people on the street that wear fringes. There are more people that know the Most High in America than there are in Africa, which is very interesting because you have all these, like, how many countries in Africa? Like 50-something countries or 50 countries. There are more people that know the Most High in America. You're more likely to run into a man or woman that wears fringes. I see it. One day I was walking from Rav's. You may know that grocery store. It was a night before Sabbath. I came out of the grocery store walking to my car. And these people were like blowing their horn. Shalom, shalom, shalom. I looked back, it was a family. A man and his wife and their child, their children in the back. They were so happy to see me. They don't know who I am. I don't know who they are, but it was my fringes that they saw. I myself have also met people this way. I've met people in this manner. But here in Africa, I have never. I go from state to state. I go to different states. Never in my life since I came back have I seen a man or woman with fringes, except for those that I brought the knowledge to, or Yah used me to teach about fringes. Except for those that I know that they most likely heard about it and began to do it from me, you know. But for me to see some random person on the street with fringes, I've not seen it. What does that tell you? That tells you that it's a place that does not know Yah. Because according to 1 John chapter 2, you know, by this we know that we know him if we keep his commandment. So there's so much lack of knowledge over here. And I did mention pride. I think that one of the problem I have is, you know, for a long time, I've been doing this stuff myself mostly. You know, I have this strategy where I come back to Africa with the money I go to America, I work, save money, come back and be doing stuff myself. And then, but what I was doing was much smaller compared to what I'm doing now. So I could handle, somebody will send me money. I will not touch the money. The money will be returned back to them, you know. And I seeing the amount of work that's available going from, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I'm not going to really get into that right now. What I'm going to focus on right now is your children, your grandchildren, your children and your grandchildren. Or if you happen to, because it happens sometimes. Sometimes something will happen to somebody, something good or something bad, and then they will need a place for their children to stay. Never say no. If you can take those children